Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Tea with Elsa. I'm doing something experimental this week that the horses are not used to. They are currently on a walk together in the round pen. This is not freedom-based training. This is something else. Go on, boys. And they're not used to me talking in the middle of the arena. They're used to me drinking tea. But I'm going to talk to you guys while we watch Atlas, who's behind me here. Atlas is a now, we think, 9-year-old stallion off of the bucking bronc circuit, the rodeo circuit. And then we have Ocasio, who's a 7-year-old gelding. And then behind him is Ari, my 9-year-old stallion from Nevada. Good morning, everybody. So these guys are on a walk together. And we're in the round pen, as you can see. This is not freedom-based training because you know that they're trapped between me and the fence. There's nothing really free about this. But I decided about a month ago that my stallions needed to be reintroduced. Last year when they were in together, they hurt each other pretty badly, and then they did not want to be in the same space together. They couldn't get far enough away from each other in the paddock. So we gave them a year where they just spent time on the opposite sides of fences from each other. And then this spring I decided that it was time for them to become friends again. So one of the ways we do this is through facilitating rest in movement. And you can see Atlas is licking and chewing and breathing. What I find is when horses get a rhythm in harmony with someone else and they just pick up their feet and put their feet down over and over again, they develop a kind of ease and a lowering of stress. So you can see these guys. We've got Atlas and then Ocasio behind me and then Ari. They're just walking. If they stop walking, I'm going to take the flag out of my pocket and help them. But they know the routine at this point, so they don't need a lot of help. And what happens is they get to do about half an hour of walking together to lower their stress, to bond them, and to make them feel like they can be in company in a way that's not fighting. Because stallion fights are a little scary for me, particularly with two stallions that have caused pretty serious injuries in the past. So this idea of rest and movement I thought I'd share with you guys today as I drink my tea. It's not quite as peaceful as our usual sitting next to the hay pile tea time, but I thought it would be fun for you guys to watch. So as they are resting in movement and walking, my job is really just to stay out of the way and correct them if they need correcting. That's really the difference between the different kinds of leadership, is that in more dominant leadership, we really reserve our corrections for when they're needed. In passive leadership, we try and take action before there's an issue. So because I can be more dominant here with the flag that's in my pocket and the fence that's on the outside of the horses so they can't run away, I can really wait and not interfere until there's an issue. And as you see from watching them behind me, there's not a lot of issue. Sorry about my dog barking in the background. I should let you see him too. This is Breezy. He is hanging out with me. So, yeah, Tracy, exactly. It's a lot like the 100-mile walk challenge with the human and horse. Same theory. And that's the beautiful thing about training, is we can take every different training method out there and say, what is it about this training method that works so well? And then how do I apply it to my situation, to my horses, to what is needed in my barn? And so when I decided that my stallions, I really wanted to let them live together. Now we do have a gelding in the middle, that's Ocasio. He's good friends with both of them. When I decided my stallions really should get to know each other again, I took on some of those ideas of the 100-mile challenge. It's also the ideas we used when we were filming Taming Wild Pura Vida. This idea that if you put emotions in motion, everything gets better. So a lot of times this idea that, stallions fight with each other. Well, yeah, they do. But they fight with each other when their emotions get really hot. They have testosterone and defensiveness and territorialness and all of that that I'm sure I don't fully understand. But you can hear Atlas snorting in the background there. Every time they take a deep breath, every time they let go of a little more tension, it means their emotions are a little less difficult and they can come together and find agreement instead of coming together and finding argument. So we spend a number of hours together, but I am here to break them up if there starts to be a fight. They know me really well. They know the situation really well. There's nothing about this that is strange or unfamiliar. I love the yawning that Atlas does. And that's an interesting point too. I find that Atlas has been through the most trauma in his life. He's had the most sort of PTSD symptoms that I can see. And he does the most releasing. When things get stressful, he's the one you can see him really, really working to let go of his stress. It's an effort for him. Ari here has lived out in the wild most of his life. I think he was a band leader before I got him. And he doesn't have to work so hard to let go of his stress. His stress is already fairly functional. So you don't see as many yawns and licks and chews from him as he's walking. He already feels pretty good. He doesn't have to make any dramatic changes in his emotions. So this is what we do. We do this for about half an hour. And then when everybody is feeling good, when I see lots of big deep breaths, lots of relaxation that comes from this rest in movement idea, then we stop. They all have a little bit of a bite to eat. Let's go, boys. Ari forgot he was supposed to move there for a second. After they've really starting to feel good, we stop, they have a bite to eat, and then I sit down and I just see what they decide to do. So for any of you who are in my Patreon group, you saw I did a whole video about how I did this from the very beginning. We've been doing this for about a month now. So they're pretty good at it now, but I filmed it all the way through so you could see from the beginning, from the first day all the way to now, how this developed. And it's actually been one of the more fun things I've done, which is saying a lot because mostly what I like to do is freedom-based training. I like to work without any tools. But you know what? There's a time and a place for everything. And when it comes to, let's go boys, come on. When it comes to stallions that might fight or horses that might hurt each other, there's a time and a place for tools so that you really keep everybody safe. So you can see Atlas pinning his ears here a little bit because Ocasio got closer than he wanted to, but then they just walk that off. They just move until that emotion passes. And that's the beauty of rest in movement. We need to start thinking of movement not as a punishment, but as a solution. Let's see, Tracy says, any suggestions on helping one learn to relax away from the herd? Yes. Tracy, I would say it's about advance and retreat. Right now, these horses are walking around me in a circle. But if you want to get a horse used to leaving the herd, figure out how far away from the herd they're comfortable getting. Is it 10 feet? Is it 20 feet? Is it half a mile? And then do a 100-mile walking challenge just back and forth on that quarter mile or that 20 feet or that 50 feet, whatever it is that your horse is comfortable with, walk that over and over and over again. And as you leave and you come back and you leave and you come back and you leave and you come back, you're going to feel the stress lower. And at the best possible moment, when the horse goes, oh, I'm feeling really great, you go, perfect. Let's let you go back to your herd and go back to your day. And the more often you do that, you use advance and retreat, where you go back and forth between what they really want, which is to be with their friends, and what's harder for them, which is to be a little farther away from their friends. Do it within the range they're comfortable, but do it a lot. And as you walk, as you do this idea of rest in movement, we're not trying to make them work. This is not a punishment. This is a rest. It just happens to be in movement. And when you rest in movement, the stress lowers, the feelings get better. And then at a certain point, when the feelings are really good, you say, perfect, we're done. And then you pick it up the next day. And each day you end on a better feeling, that becomes the new normal. That becomes the way the horses feel about the project in general. So that's my ideas on it. I'm going to take a little risk right now. I've never done this holding the camera, but we're going to see if I can end the session, just so you guys can see what happens. If it all goes terribly wrong, my apologies. I don't know how well. There we go. I think my recording stopped for a second, but I think it's going again. If someone could just tell me if you can see this, if we are still live. I think we are. If not, I'll have to pick it up again later. All right, so everybody's starting to settle here. Okay, we're back. Good. Thank you, Julie. So everybody's starting to settle. The ears are starting to come up. The pace is starting to gain a little bit more rhythm. You can see Ari get a little upset there. Can he walk it off? Can he just walk until he feels differently? There you go. And we're just going to walk until they feel differently. This is pretty easy in a round pen, but what I like about this is when Ari feels upset, he just speeds up a little bit. He adds a little bit more movement to put himself in a position where he's not so close to Atlas. You hear people say this all the time to small children. If someone is irritating you, don't sit so close to them. Sit somewhere where you will not be irritated. And so I'm hoping Ari will learn that too. If Atlas is too close to him, he can just speed up and find a new place. He doesn't have to get all angry with Atlas. There we go. Now, this might get interesting here. They might show us a little bit of chaos. You can see the emotions starting to come up for both of them. I'm ready to help them out if I need to, but it's way better if they can help themselves out. If I can just stay in the middle and talk to you guys and let them sort out their own issues without anybody feeling in danger, that's the best possible situation. And then Ari's going to speed up. He says, I don't want Atlas that close to me. So that was a really good job. He solved it for himself. Instead of getting mad at Atlas, he just moved himself out of the way. And that's what we hope they start to learn in this rest and movement, is just kind of keep solving things. Now you can see, doesn't Atlas change position here? And Ari's really not happy about that. He's stuck in the middle between Ocasio and Atlas. And my curiosity is do they sort this out? Do they figure this out, or do they have to fight about it? And I'm certainly here to help if they need it. I've got a flag in my pocket if they need to be pushed out of a fight. But I would rather they figure out how to find a spacing that works for them. A little social distancing for horses here too. Luckily, we have no virus impact for them, but we want them to learn how to find the space between each other that works for them. There we go. So I don't know if you can see, the rhythm is starting to get better. But then when Ari stalled to a halt for a second and he lost his rhythm, that's when his emotions got too big too. His ears pinned back, he got kind of angry. So it's not always Ari that's the issue. Some days it's Atlas, sometimes it's Ocasio. They all have their turn. But the idea is that they're learning. There we go. Ari just sped up and figured out how to find his distance again. All right, boys. This looks pretty good. You ready? You want to come in? Come on in. So Cassio is always the first one to come in. He's done the most of this work, and he's going to come in and touch my hand. Atlas is going to come in and say hi, good job. And Ari's the most reticent because he's not used to this kind of pressure in the round pen. He's done mostly freedom-based training work. The idea of being between a person and a fence is pretty hard for him. You want to touch in? There you go. All right, so then after they come in, we go ahead and we get the sunflower seeds. We'll see if we can show you this process. And Atlas gets a scoop. And then one in each of the other pans. All right, you ready, O? Come ahead. Now, they might share. That's absolutely fine. And as you can see, Ari takes the longest to come over. He's just not sure. Come on, bud, particularly now that I'm holding the camera up. It's a lot of pressure with all of us in here, buddy, isn't it? Okay, go ahead. And so, this is what it looks like when we end our session. We all have a little bit of food. I'm feeling black oil sunflower seeds with the hulls on. What I find is they love those sunflower seeds. They taste really good. They've got some good vitamins and minerals, and they take a really long time to chew. And the idea is that the chewing is also this idea of movement. You know, you can see Ari rolling those sunflower seeds around his mouth. And chewing as a form of movement is also stress lowering. So that's why I choose the sunflower seeds, to really let them roll those around in their mouth and be comfortable. And looks like we got the timing just right here. It's starting to rain. So turn my camera around again. This is us. And this is our Tuesday tea time. I thought I'd show you guys something a little different. So, you know, you can do rest in movement in freedom-based training once you're pretty advanced and your horse has a lot of things they like doing with you. But it takes a lot longer to work up to freedom-based training type rest and movement. If you're willing to use dominance or a round pen or a flag or a halter, you can use rest and movement a lot sooner than you can in freedom-based training. So I'm just going to sit back. Most likely these guys will go get a drink of water and they'll hang out, and it'll probably take them half an hour, 45 minutes to start playing together. And then, you know, at some point if they start fighting, they'll have to walk again. If not, we'll just spend a couple of hours in here with them playing and eating and playing and doing different things. So thank you guys for joining me. If you want to see the whole process from the beginning, it's up on Patreon. I'd love you guys to join us. Patreon/TamingWild. Thank you guys for joining me for tea time today. And that's hello from Atlas and Ocasio and Ari and Elsa and Breeze. Have a wonderful day, you guys. I will talk to you later and see you next Tuesday.